if you're looking for some ideas for a narrow bed like this, or if you're just looking for some great perennials and annuals to plant in a space that's similar to this, then look no further, because I'm going to give you a plant review and explain how these things have done this year and really talk about what they needed to be successful in our garden. Stick around. So I've tried various things in this planter, and most of the things that I planted here have been okay, but they've not been necessarily appropriate for the small, narrow bed that I have here. I've tried petunias in here. I've tried a variety of other plants like lantana, which it's definitely not the right light conditions for plants like that in an area like this. The supertunias just spilled out way too far over the lantana. It wasn't light enough. So, you know, it's taken me a while, but I think I've got it because I planted two beautiful plants in here that have the same light requirements. And my ultimate goal for this space was to, first of all, plant things that were more upright in growth, not spilling. And then my second goal was to find something that was beautiful, colorful, and would lend to a little bit of texture in this space in between my tower boxwoods here. All right, so the shining star in this area is this beautiful Sun Patient, which finally has proven to be an excellent fit for this spot. I mean, it's just loaded with blooms. That beautiful bright pink fuchsia color is just like popping, especially in the sun. It just shines beautifully, and these have never stopped blooming. That's the one thing about Sun Patients, is they are pretty much blooming all the time. I really haven't done too much to these. I love things that are low maintenance, and these for sure are definitely that. This variety I picked up at Lowe's. This is the compact series, so they don't grow nearly as tall as some of the Sun Patients that I've had before that can get quite large. They're more of a smaller stature in size, and I really like that because I've planted two of them in between each one of these boxwoods, and I think it really is the appropriate size for a space like this. The one thing that I love, not one thing, but many things that I love about it, is the ever blooming growth habit, also the beautiful dark green leaves, and the fact that I haven't had any pests on these things all season, because some of the things in my garden, my hanging baskets, some of the super bells and supertunias that I have, they need to be sprayed, and that is a maintenance piece that has to be taken care of. But with these, I really haven't had to do anything. And a lot of impatiens and Sun Patients don't require a lot of fertilizer or extra food, but the tag on these did say that they could benefit from a little bit of extra fertilizer once a month. So when I've been fertilizing my hanging baskets or things that are in the ground, I've given them a little hit of fertilizer, not a lot, just a little bit, because one thing that I've noticed with my impatiens and Sun Patients before in the past is if they have a lot of fertilizer, they do really well, but then that tends to attract more pests like aphids and things like that. Not that I've seen anything on this, and I really haven't seen too many aphids on those kind of plants, but they do sometimes get spider mites, and that can zap them just like an aphid can, so you might want to be wary of that. But a little bit of fertilizer here and there obviously has done them really well. For water, I've given them just as much as they need. I mean, they'll tell you when they need extra water. They get a little wilty. Even though there's some patients, a lot of intense sun can really dry them out, so probably twice a week I give them a good deep soak. They're not on drip irrigation like most of the other things in my yard, and they haven't really needed to be because they do pretty well once they've been established, but they are fantastic. And I probably, if I ever plant anything in here again, I have to keep that in mind, maybe a different color, a different variety, but I really am happy with this color, and so they're fantastic. They are hardy down to 40 degrees, so I imagine as we get closer to the winter, they'll probably fizzle out just a little bit, just because the temperature at night, even though we're here in Southern California, will tend to get down below 40 degrees, and that's okay, but I can imagine, since they are a perennial, that they will come back strong in the spring. But yeah, what a win on these, you guys. I've absolutely loved them in here. I haven't trimmed them back or anything. I don't even have to worry about deadheading because they are in constant bloom. And when their blooms are eventually spent, they just fall off. They have a little stem that eventually falls off too. So they're very clean, actually. They don't leave a giant mess, which I love that big time. But a good fit in here. I think it goes well in this space, and they're absolutely beautiful. All right, now let's talk about these gorgeous caladiums that are growing in between the impatiens, and they're just kind of peeking through, and it really does give it such a really cool texture. It kind of pulls all those colors together. I mean, the inside of the caladium is not as bright as the blooms, but the outer rim of the leaves are just beautiful, and they pull in all of the really nice colors of this space, and they don't spill out. They just kind of have an upright growth, and they have done so well here. And I think that is mainly because these two plants together have the same requirements with water, with fertilizer, and also with light, which are huge. I mean, it's taken me a while to kind of figure that out, because I get excited, which I'm sure a lot of you gardeners do. You want to put something in a space and it may not be the right fit, and then some things may do well and some things may struggle. And now these caladiums were in here last year. I had actually planted them last year with some other annuals, and they had died back, and the caladiums on this side came back first. These eventually came back, and I'm so glad they did, because it's a really good mix with both of them together. The care has been so easy, just as easy as these sun patiens have been. And I just really enjoy the upright growth of these things, and just the overall pattern of the leaves. I mean, you have so many things going on. That beautiful bright green rim on the outside that fades to a darker green, that eventually gets into more of a like a burgundy color with a light pink, and then you have that speckling of white and pink, which is really, really pretty. It just pulls everything together, and the care for these things are so incredibly easy. They are, in our area, a perennial. They will come back every year in zone 10 through 11. In most cases, they are an annual, but let me tell you guys, they are worth it. I was seeing a lot of people online saying, if you haven't grown caladiums, you need to try it. And so I took them up on that last year, and I'm so glad I did, because I was kind of leery about doing that or adding them to my garden, because they look so extra fancy and maybe a little bit delicate, but they really aren't, and they thrive in the heat and humidity that we've had this year, because we've had, you know, a warm summer, and here recently we had a lot of hot weather, so they did not even, it didn't even phase them at all. They did fantastic. So again, I did exactly what I did with the sun patiens. They get water maybe twice a week, and if they need more because they're drying out because of the heat, I will give them supplemental. Once a month I give them water soluble, just like the other ones. It's exactly the same. They have the same light in this space. This space, just so you know, is on the east facing side of the house, so it gets plenty of morning sun, and in the summertime that's up until right about 1 or 2 o'clock, and then they're in the shade for the rest of the day, and they have loved that. So these both can handle sun or shade, and I think in a space like this, I think that's ideal. So when I read the notes on the tag originally, they said that they can grow up to 16 to 18 inches tall, and that's just about where they are right now. I just love how they're peeking out of the foliage of the blooming plants to give you just a little bit of that really nice, gorgeous, beautiful tropical-esque texture that they bring to the garden. I've never grown them in containers, but I imagine they would be successful as well and just as beautiful. I've seen a lot of people actually grow them in hanging baskets as kind of like a thriller, and then have things hanging off the sides of the hanging baskets. That would be beautiful as well. You don't necessarily need a big space to create an impact like this. This is really a very small space of our garden here that we're sharing with you, and you could easily recreate this look in a container. It would be no problem at all, and I think they would be just as beautiful. But anyways, such a great thing to see when you have these successes in the garden, and to share them with you is absolutely one of the best things that I love to do. I think one of my favorite things in this space is the fact that there is so much color in contrast to the beautiful evergreen boxwoods. If you've been following me or seen any of my videos, I really love that backdrop or that foundation of having evergreens and then having something beautiful blooming that's somewhat in control and looks like it is just profuse with color. It really does create a statement in the yard. So I just was really excited to share this with you guys, and this might be something that you may want to consider if you do have a small bed like this, or even if you do have a large space, or if you're thinking about putting it in a container, because these things are great in that they are super hardy and easy to take care of. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here with us today, and we hope to see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye everybody.